Righty. Good morning. Good morning, dear ones. And good morning, Adrian.
Good morning, SOTU.
This is Adrian. We are SOTU, and this is SOTUesday for the 24th day of January. Did you ever think you were going to get this far? In 2017? Well, with all of the shrieking and all of the cacophony of noise that has been going on for the past few weeks, you would think that the world was about to come to an end or something. And for many of you, we would say that's exactly, energetically at the very least, that is what is happening. Today we would like to discuss, and we realize we're going to be leaving Adrian out of it in a lot of the dynamic, except when we ask her for comments. But you must understand that the dynamic of the moment is the dynamic of the moment, and we do not wish you to allow an opportunity to pass by. If you can understand what the reflection, what the dynamic of soul on a consensus level is urging you to do right now. And it is not just grow up. It's about look at the dynamics of the reflection. You had a situation that happened on Saturday where more than 3 million people joined together to protest the dynamics of the election, ostensibly the election of Donald Trump, and what that seemingly represented to you all. But we would suggest to you that if you step back and you look at the dynamic, you will find out that the dynamics were reflective of the inner wrongness that so many of you sense with the dynamic. Now, so many of you are just putting the blame on Donald Trump, and excuse us, we would suggest to you that those of you that are so quick to blame Donald Trump, we would suggest that you look at your own personal prejudices against the masculine, or perhaps against the feminine even. For the march on Saturday was a clear reflection of the result of, what shall we say, many, many years of belief, and many, many years of judgment, and even many, many years of manipulation. If you understand that the reflection, what were there, 70 groups at least that were in Washington, D.C. and on Saturday, and this dynamic of there were so many, you were divided up into so many groups that in fact the major question that came from the march and came from those that were observing the march is, what are you marching for? Or what are you marching against? And we would suggest to you that each of you has a different answer. And because each of you has a different answer, and each of your reasons are valid, do not get us wrong in that understanding. Each of your reasons are valid. There are more than enough dynamics of injustice and unfairness that can be reflected in your world right now. And you must understand that those dynamics of reflection are exactly what is presented. It is a mishmash. It is a way to disempower. You are in positions where each of you are so dependent upon, are so identified with one particular cause or another particular cause, that in fact there is no one umbrella that covers the whole dynamic. Adrian, you wish to say something?
Well, no one umbrella that can address the magnitude of overall wrongness.
Right. You're talking about a dynamic of an innate morality. This is a reflection of the innate feeling that your world, as it exists right now, is wrong. The unfairness in your world is wrong. the disproportionate, what shall we say, accumulation of wealth is wrong, especially when other people are suffering. So, from our perspective, it is a moment in time that says to you that you need to find something. You need to find a statement or an umbrella that you can all stand on under, and that addresses each of your individual dynamics. Now, you are seeking to do this in one step, and the problem has been that up until we say you have had the what shall we say, the new motivation of the surprises of the universe and the ironic humor of the universe, that you must see that is a motivation. But if you also look back at the dynamics, you will understand that you are particularly at a moment in the reflection of your reality is a beautiful reflection of soul. It is a beautiful reflection of soul that asks you, who is it that you are going to be? But it also provides a reflection of where you are now, which is disempowered because of you are allowing the fractionalization of you. You came together as women. You came together under the dynamic of a gender, and you couldn't even agree on certain tenets of that dynamic, of even being gender-based. But we wish to tell you it's not about gender, and that is just another dynamic of divide and conquer. If you understand that you are being asked to, from the place of individuation, and this has been the dynamic of your journey, if you can understand the historical, what shall we say, growth of humanity, in the dynamics of, back before the Bible, you talk about, and we only use that as an example, as a, what shall we say, a signpost in the dynamics of your belief. Before the dynamics of 12,000 years or so ago, you don't know what your reality was. You have hints, but you have not really discovered the true dynamic of self yet, many of you. Some of you have, certainly so. Do not let us paint with the broadest brush. We'll use a broad brush, but we will not paint with the broadest brush. So understand that you, as a humanity, have grown through a period of individuation where you, from a spiritual level, before the garden experience, you had a collective relationship with the divine. You had a collective relationship with all that is. You had a collective relationship with the collective unconscious. You knew you were one with all. There was no question about it. Basically, through the dynamic of an instinctual knowing, an instinctual understanding. There wasn't a lot of yammer from the brain in the way, saying, yeah, but. In fact, there was that dynamic of that oneness. But it was necessary in the dynamic of growth, in the dynamic of understanding the normalcy and how things actually work, that humanity would move into a dynamic of individuation, where you could develop that dynamic of the sacred self, of the I am, of the piece of you that knows that there is more to you than just this physical shell. But that you also choose this physical shell to gain wisdom and experience, and your journey to gain wisdom and experience. And that is the journey you are all on. Even as you are on that journey as individuals, so too are you on that journey
Funny.
as a species.
So the one umbrella or the one understanding, whether you go above or below, it doesn't matter, is that we are all earthly humanity and everyone wishes to feel safe.
Well, and ultimately, how do you create that safety? You do not create that safety through a paradigm of competition and comparison. If you understand the dynamic of growth and you understand the dynamic of where you are as a species, we would say to you that there are those energies that have fractionalized you, that in many ways, instead of creating through a common belief in the goodness of humanity, you create through a mosaic of any number of belief systems that create the cacophony and the chaos that exists in your world right now. Now, that's not to say there are not other energies and other individual beings that are seeking to control this dynamic, but you must also understand that they are powerless if you step into your own dynamics and your own realization of how you create and why you create what you do. And so it's a lot easier to look at the dynamic of the consensus than it is to look at the dynamic of one's own flaws. But we would suggest to you that right now the Times basically says, look at this dynamic. Look at how you are fractionalized. Look how you are disempowered because of that fractionalization. Can you find something to come together that speaks to the morality of all humanity? And, certainly we have, and Adrian has, and those that work with us have hopefully created a banner, but that you can come together under, which is peace begins with enough for all: food, water, shelter, healthcare, and education. Because from that platform, from that dynamic of innate fairness, the possibilities for humanity are incredible. But again, it's about not letting go of that hard fought, hard won individuation. It's to realize that humanity is standing on the precipice of movement. Not even movement, you're in the midst of it. And in the dynamics of the midst of this movement, you find yourself constantly being questioned and questioning yourselves and questioning your realities and questioning your belief systems. So we would suggest to you that simply by changing intent to find the way that is the best possible outcome, that you might avoid a dynamic where something must manifest from outside of you to bring you together. For that is the point. You stand on the precipice of a new world where you stand fully in your individuation, and yet you live in a world of connection, of caring and compassion.
When you use the analogy of a mosaic, if you look at a mosaic very closely, there's so many different colors, but each one is important and vital
to make the whole picture.
If you pull
Absolutely
back
so.
to look at the whole picture, all of a sudden you see this grand design.
Very nice metaphor. Very nice analogy. All right, dear ones. That is our message for you today. We are SOTU, and this is Adrian. And this is SOTUesday for the 24th day of January 2017. We will be back next week with more fun and more games. So until then, we close. Sending you peace, sending you happiness, sending you joy.